Humanity's very existence hung in the balance as the Galactic Council delivered its verdict. Commander Scott Parker clenched his fists, his knuckles white, as he watched the alien counselors sneer and dismiss mankind's desperate plea for expanded resource rights. For too long, the Council races had treated humans as lesser beings, restricting Earth's fleet and hoarding the galaxy's wealth and power for themselves. But this time would be different. This time, humanity was ready to strike back. Parker terminated the live Council feed with a stab of his finger, the insectoid clicks of Counselor Theros still echoing in his ears. Rising from his command chair on the bridge of the EDS Retribution, he faced his officers, their anticipation palpable in the recycled air. "Send the signal," Parker ordered, his voice hard as steel. "Initiate Jericho Protocol. The Allied commanders need to know the score." Months of covert intel gathering had revealed critical weaknesses in the alien fleet's shields and power systems. Vulnerabilities humanity could exploit to seize its rightful place among the stars. No more begging for scraps. No more swallowing the Council's condescension. Parker allowed himself a cold smile as his crew scrambled to action, purpose burning in their eyes. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to challenge the indomitable human spirit, what it meant to stand against a species that refused to back down. The aliens thought they knew fear, but they hadn't seen anything yet. In the inky void of a nameless star system, far from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council, the EDS Retribution hung in space like a crouching predator. Commander Scott Parker strode into the darkened briefing room, the sharp planes of his face illuminated by the holographic displays flickering to life around him. Representatives from the Krasiks, Murloc, and Zix awaited him, their alien features cast in stark relief by the ghostly light. Parker nodded to each in turn, respect and purpose etched in the set of his jaw. They were unlikely allies, bound together by a shared hatred of the Council's tyranny. "The time has come to strike," Parker declared, his voice ringing with authority. "Our agents have identified critical weaknesses in the Council species defenses, weaknesses we will exploit without mercy." The Krasik's representative, a lithe feline with a scarred muzzle, bared her fangs in a predatory grin. "The Vognir rely too heavily on their thorium refineries. Take those out, and their vaunted planetary shields will be little more than pretty lights. And the Fenrigar still cling to outdated shield harmonics," burbled the Murloc, his amphibious features glistening. "Our gunships can punch right through." The insectoid Zix chittered, multifaceted eyes gleaming. "Quarak's fleet response times are laughable. Slow, sluggish, easy prey." Parker absorbed the intel, a cold smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Then we strike at the Vognir first. Ready your forces. We hit them hard and fast before they even know what's happening." The Allied commanders nodded, a shared hunger for vengeance burning in their eyes. Hours later, the Retribution led a silent armada of human, Krasiks, Murloc, and Zix warships as they sliced through the void towards the Vognir homeworld. Stealth destroyers and gunships, running dark and cold, slipped past sensor grids and perimeter drones. As the unsuspecting planet filled the forward screens, Parker leaned forward in his command chair, every muscle coiled with tension. "All ships, weapons free. Let's introduce the Vognir to a new breed of fear." The Allied fleet struck like a thunderbolt, destroyers and gunships screaming out of the dark to hammer the defense platforms in merciless waves of fire. Krasik's fighter wings danced and wove through the orbital structures, surgically crippling power relays and sensor nodes. On the planet's surface, Murloc marine units stormed the thorium refinery control centers in lightning raids, the fog of war descending in their wake. Zix infiltrators scuttled through maintenance tunnels, planting explosives at critical junctures with ruthless precision. In a matter of hours, the once proud Vognir war machine lay in shambles, belching flame and ruin. Planetary shields sputtered and died, bereft of the constant thorium flow. The Retribution and her fleet rained orbital fire on military bases and arms factories with impunity, the planet's defenders powerless to intervene. As quickly as they had struck, the Allied ships vanished back into the void, leaving only devastation behind. On board the Retribution, however, the taste of victory turned to ashes in Parker's mouth as a recon drone's telemetry splashed across the main display. A Fenrigar battle fleet, far larger than any they had anticipated, surged through space towards the Wagnir homeworld. Too large, too fast. A cold certainty crystallized in Parker's gut. Someone had betrayed them. Someone had leaked the Jericho Protocol to the Council. "All ships, scatter and rendezvous at Black Site Sigma," Parker snapped, the bridge suddenly electric with barely controlled urgency. "We need to rearm and refuel immediately." Even as the crew scrambled to obey, Parker stared at the display, at the massed Fenrigar ships bearing down on them. The next phase of the plan would have to be accelerated. The next blow struck while the Council reeled. Because if the Fenrigar arrived in force now, all would be lost. The Retribution and her allies would be nothing but drifting scrap within a solar day, and with them, humanity's last best hope for freedom. Parker's eyes hardened to flints of liquid nitrogen. He had just rolled the dice in the biggest game of chance in human history, and he was all in, no matter where the pieces fell. Regardless of the cost, the Retribution and her battered fleet emerged from hyperspace at Black Site Sigma, a derelict space station hidden deep within an asteroid field. As repair drones swarmed over hull breaches and scorched weapon emplacements, Parker strode into the cramped war room, his face etched with grim intensity. A holographic message flickered to life, revealing the amphibious features of their Murloc deep cover agent. "Commander, this is Shadowfin. The Council has deployed Admiral Karnax and the FNS Devourer. You have days at most before—" The transmission cut off abruptly as Parker's fist slammed onto the console. "Damn it all," he growled. "Intel on the Devourer. Now!" His second-in-command, Lieutenant Chen, pulled up schematics of a monstrous warship. "Sir, it's equipped with a phase singularity cannon. One shot could annihilate our entire fleet." Parker's eyes narrowed as he studied the display. "Then we hit them first. Set course for the Fenrigar shipyards. We're going to steal those schematics and find that ship's weakness." Hours later, the Allied armada dropped out of hyperspace above the Fenrigar homeworld. Swarms of fighters erupted from launch bays, strafing orbital defense platforms in a deadly dance of lasers and missiles. Parker stood in the Retribution's drop bay, mag boots engaged as he addressed the strike team. "Our window is tight. We get in, grab the data, and get out. Understood?" A chorus of affirmatives rang out as the bay doors slid open, revealing the looming bulk of the shipyard. Assault shuttles screamed across the void, weaving through debris and weapons fire. The moment they touched down, Parker was moving. Plasma bolts sizzled past his head as Fenrigar defenders poured fire into the docking bay. He rolled behind a stack of crates, returning fire with practiced precision. "Push forward," Parker roared, leading the charge deeper into the station. They fought their way through twisting corridors, the sounds of battle echoing all around them. Finally, they reached the control nexus. Parker slammed a breaching charge onto the reinforced door, diving clear as it detonated. Through the smoke, he saw a towering Fenrigar commander lunge for a control panel. "No!" Parker's shot came a fraction of a second too late. Klaxons blared as the self-destruct sequence initiated. 30 seconds, Chen shouted, frantically interfacing with the main computer. "Downloading now!" Parker provided covering fire as Fenrigar troops swarmed the entrance. The download bar crawled agonizingly slowly across the screen. 10 seconds! Got it! Chen yanked the data core free just as the first explosions rocked the station. They sprinted for the extraction point, the structure disintegrating around them. Parker dove into the shuttle a heartbeat before the bay doors slammed shut. As they rocketed clear, the shipyard erupted in a silent blossom of fire, debris peppering their hull. Back aboard the Retribution, Parker hunched over the captured schematics, a savage grin spreading across his face. There, he jabbed a finger at the display, a flaw in the singularity cannon's containment field. We can exploit that. But before he could savor the victory, Vizana, the Zix infiltrator, scuttled into the room. Her multifaceted eyes gleamed with urgency. "Commander, we've intercepted a transmission. It's Tyros, the Krazix Battlemaster. He's been negotiating with the Council. offering to betray us all. Parker's blood ran cold. With their position compromised, there was only one high-stakes endeavor left. Plot a course for Nexus Prime, he ordered, his voice like iron. We're taking the fight straight to the Council's doorstep. As the battered fleet limped towards what could be their final confrontation, Parker stared out at the star-flecked void. The fate of humanity now balanced on a knife's edge, with the Council's mighty fleets arrayed against them. But they had come too far to falter now. The retribution accelerated, leading the charge towards destiny. The retribution shuddered as another volley of Fenrigar plasma torpedoes slammed into its weakening shields. Commander Scott Parker steadied himself against the command console, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Status report," he barked, watching as the holographic representation of his fleet dwindled with each passing moment. Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled over the comms, strained but steady. "Sir, we've lost the Krazix cruiser Fang of Vengeance. The Murloc frigates are barely holding the line. Our fighters are engaged, but they're outnumbered 3-1. Parker's mind focused. The strike on Nexus Prime had been audacious, even reckless, but it had yielded results. Now those results threatened to slip through his fingers as Admiral Karnax's forces bore down on them with relentless fury. "All ships execute pattern Omega-7, Parker ordered. "Concentrate fire on the Devourer's port flank. We need to punch a hole in their formation." The remaining Allied vessels moved in concert, their weapons lancing out in a synchronized barrage. For a moment, it seemed to work. A Fenrigar destroyer erupted in a silent explosion, creating a brief gap in the enemy line. But it wasn't enough. The Devourer loomed ever larger on the screen, its massive form eclipsing the stars behind it. Parker could almost feel the malevolent gaze of Admiral Karnax, watching from the bridge of that behemoth. "Sir," Chen's voice cut through the din of battle, "we're detecting a power surge in the Devourer's forward section. I think they're charging the Singularity Cannon." Parker's blood ran cold. If that weapon fired, it would be over in an instant. His mind raced, weighing options that grew more limited by the second. "Helm, bring us about," he commanded. "Prepare for emergency jump to coordinates 79 Echo." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Those coordinates would take them dangerously close to a stellar nursery, a region of space where the laws of physics became unreliable. As the Retribution banked hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of railgun fire, Parker opened a channel to the rest of the fleet. "All ships prepare to jump on my mark, and release the Council hostages." A chorus of confused responses filled the comms. Parker cut them off with a sharp gesture. "You heard me. Jettison the prisoner pods. Now." He watched the tactical display as a dozen small craft separated from various ships in the fleet, each containing one or more of the captured Council members. Almost immediately, the incoming fire from the Fenrigar fleet slackened. "Sir," Chen reported, a note of incredulity in her voice, "the Devourer, it's powering down its main weapon. They're moving to retrieve the hostages." Parker allowed himself the ghost of a smile. "Of course they are. The Council values its own above all else. Now, all ships, jump!" Space twisted around them as the battered human fleet vanished into the void, leaving behind a scene of confusion and devastation. When they emerged, the swirling gases and newly forming stars of the stellar nursery filled their view screens. "Damage report," Parker demanded, steadying himself as the ship's stabilizers struggled to compensate for the turbulent space around them. Chen's voice was grim. "We've lost another third of the fleet, sir. Those that made it, we're looking at critical systems failures across the board. We need repairs, and soon." Parker nodded, his mind already racing ahead to their next move. They had struck a blow against the Council, yes, but at a terrible cost. And now, with Karnax and the Devourer still out there, time was running out. He turned to his communications officer. "Send a coded burst transmission to all our remaining cells and sympathizers. It's time to call in every favor, every resource we have." As the crew scrambled to carry out his orders, Parker stared out at the chaotic beauty of the stellar nursery. Somewhere out there, amid the cosmic forge of creation, lay their salvation, or their doom. The hunt was on. The hunt was on, but Commander Scott Parker knew he had become the prey. As the Retribution limped through the volatile gases of the stellar nursery, he formulated a plan that would make or break humanity's future among the stars. "All ships converge on these coordinates," Parker ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of command. "We make our stand in the outer reaches of Nexus Prime." The battered human fleet emerged from the swirling cosmic soup, reassembling into a ragged formation. Parker's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. The Fenrigar Devourer loomed large, its massive form flanked by Admiral Karnax's supporting vessels. "Sir, we're detecting multiple council signatures aboard the prisoner's transport," Lieutenant Chen reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Parker nodded grimly. "Patch me through to the Devourer. It's time we played our final card." The view screen flickered to life, revealing Admiral Karnax's snarling visage. Before the Fenrigar could speak, Parker's voice cut through the silence of space. "Admiral Karnax, your council masters are now our guests. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we'll be forced to take extreme measures." The alien's multifaceted eyes glittered with malice. "You dare make demands of me, human filth? I will blast those pathetic wretches into atoms if you so much as—" Parker severed the connection with a sharp gesture. "Target the Fenrigar command ship with everything we have. All ships commence Armageddon protocol." The human fleet erupted in a symphony of destruction. Plasma beams lanced across the void, while swarms of killer drones and boarding pods raced toward the Devourer. The massive warship's shields flared brilliantly under the assault, its own weapons returning fire with devastating force. Aboard the Retribution, klaxons blared as a missile salvo found its mark. Parker gripped the command console, steadying himself as the deck bucked beneath his feet. "Shields at 30%, Chen shouted over the din. "We can't take much more of this." But Parker's ace was already in play. Deep within the Devourer's hull, Zix infiltrators planted during the earlier battle sprang into action. Their chitinous limbs danced across alien interfaces, unleashing virulent computer plagues into the ship's systems. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The Devourer's turrets began firing wildly, its thrusters sputtering erratically as the ship's artificial intelligence descended into digital madness. "Now!" Parker roared. "All ships concentrate fire on their primary reactor." What remained of the human fleet threw everything they had at the wounded Goliath. Laser fire and plasma bolts converged on a single point, overwhelming the Devourer's already taxed defenses. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash that seared retinas even through polarized viewports, the Devourer's singularity reactor breached. The massive warship imploded, collapsing in on itself before erupting in a spectacular explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through space. As the last echoes of the blast faded, an eerie quiet settled over the battlefield. Parker watched grimly as escape pods fled the wreckage, knowing that humanity's victory had come at a terrible cost. "Status report," he demanded, his voice hoarse. Chen's reply was grim. "We're down to less than half our original strength, sir. The Zix cruiser Shadowclaw is venting atmosphere. The Krasix frigates are reporting critical damage across all systems." Parker nodded, surveying the remnants of his once proud armada. He knew the real battle was just beginning. Across the galaxy, news of the attack on Nexus Prime was spreading like wildfire. Even now, he could imagine the outraged masses calling for humanity's blood. "Bring the council prisoners to the bridge," Parker ordered, straightening his uniform, "and prepare a galaxy-wide broadcast. It's time we made our intentions clear." As the shell-shocked alien dignitaries were led onto the bridge, Parker turned to face the camera drones hovering nearby. He took a deep breath, knowing that his next words would shape the course of human history for generations to come. "People of the galaxy," he began, his voice resonating with conviction. "I am Commander Scott Parker."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.